In a future society, time travel exists, but only available to those who have the means to pay for it on the black market. When the mob wants to eliminate someone, it sends the target into the past, where loopers finish the job. It's Looper for today's movie club. Roll the intro. What is up? For those that are joining us on Spreaker, hello. Thank you for listening to us in podcast format. We're also available in video format, y'all. Simulcast on YouTube and the Facebook page. Search the Sunday Funday podcast. Joe's waving to everybody. He's super excited today because his movie for the movie club is Looper, a 2012 classic featuring his boy, Joe Gordon-Levitt.
Yes.
That's why he picked the movie.
That's the only reason I picked the movie. Like,
it only took him a year to pick the movie, too.
Because y'all kept stomping over my picks.
Hey,
it's not about
that,
though. It's not about that, though.
Yeah.
It's about the movie.
Nothing.
It's about the movie we have in front of us. Looper, 2012, science fiction action thriller. Written and directed by Rian Johnson, a Rian Johnson joint. For those of y'all interested.
Nobody calls it that.
Brian,
if it's not Spike Lee, it's not
Brian,
a joint.
that's a play on the Spike Lee joint, Brian, for you.
No.
In case you didn't.
Brian's cool enough to know that. Come
He's
on.
not.
No, he's not.
Oh, I had faith in you, Brian. Sorry.
So like John said in the intro, time travel has not been invented yet. 30 years from now, it will have been. It'll be instantly outlawed, using only in secret by the most... I'm not going to do the voice. Most powerful criminal organizations. So apparently they have tracking where disposing bodies in the future is hard to do, so they send them back in time, 30 years. Loopers exist. They're like time hitmen, basically. Boom, the hit pops up in front of you. Wow, they blast them with the blunderbuss. And on their back is attached to them their payment. Silver in the instance of a regular target. Gold in the instance where they send your future self back into the past and you kill your future self. That's closing your loop, kids. And it's like just stacks of gold bricks. And then the countdown starts. You got 30 years to live after you close your loop. We meet Joe, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, a looper in Kansas. We learned he was picked up off the streets by local boss Abe Mitchell, played by Jeff Daniels. Phenomenal role.
Yeah.
He was brought into the fold of a life of organized crime, joining the syndicate here. Joe's been saving half of his silver, we find, to retire in France. All the while living it up as a looper does in the city.
I'm going to France.
You want to go to China. I'm going to France. And he's just like,
I'm from the future.
He's
Go
so
to China.
angsty. Yeah. It's like when somebody...
I think we'd be saying like vice versa now. Like, go to France. Don't go to China right now.
We
Learn Chinese though.
Yes, they definitely learn Chinese. It's known that as they're living their life up, these loopers, we get this segment in the movie, more and more loops are being closed. So the loopers, their future selves are being killed, and everyone's getting paid out in these gold bricks. And so the looper's like, yeah, I closed my loop, and everyone's like partying it up. His friend, Joe's friend Seth, is a TK user, so they have like this minor mutation where they can use telekinesis TK to float little coins and do this dumb little trick. Everyone thought they were gonna get powers, and just turns out it's just this. It's basically like a
Party trick.
parlor trick basically. Nothing fancy.
It's like when Aang in Avatar goes with his little marble.
That's a good analog. I like that. But word gets around that more and more loopers are having their loops closed. But the camaraderie still spreads among the remaining loopers they're celebrating. One late evening, that friend Seth, played by Paul Dano, a phenomenal.
Love him.
He's so good. He's a great character actor. He comes in a panic in Joe's apartment. He's like, my loop is being closed, but it got away. Like the old man warned him of a person called the Rainmaker. They were wiping out all the syndicates in the future, and so, thusly, they were sending loopers, old selves, back into the past, and just closing all these loops and getting rid of all the syndicates in the future. The Rainmaker supposedly single-handedly taking out all these syndicates. Joe ends up hiding Seth in like his secret where he's keeping half his silver trap door in the middle of his apartment. But Abe ends up convincing him. He's like, man, this is not worth like any of the trouble. Turn this dude in. We'll close the loop. Problem solved. He ends up turning in Seth. In this creepy section where he's cool. Like, they're like removing limbs slowly. His past self, they catch him. In the future, the old man version of Seth is like, oh, my arms, and then his tongue and everything. It's all messed up. But he ends up getting killed. They close that loop. It turns out shortly, Joe's future self gets sent back. And then he ends up blasting him, and he finds out, oh, crap, my loop got closed. And so it goes through this montage of his 30 years. He ends up moving to China. Runs low on the funds that he had saved, and he gets back into the life of crime and drugs and all that, which he ends up meeting his future wife. She ends up turning his life around, and he has a nice, I think it's like less than a decade they spend together.
Yeah, it was like 7 years, I think.
Yeah, roughly around that time. And it's like the best part of his life. But unfortunately, that loop is closed because they send his future self back into the past to get killed. So this version of the timeline is now when it divulges. So instead of that loop being closed, his old Joe, played by Bruce Willis, also awesome, curmudgeon-y old man. Future Joe, it's just Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis ends up going back, but at this time he doesn't have the mask on. They have the hits. They're everything tied up and everything. He comes back. He doesn't have the thing on, and he's facing Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he's like, "Oh shoot!" And so like this sequence happens where he ends up knocking him out, and he's like, "Yeah, get out of town. I'm gonna stop everybody in the past, the syndicate in the past. Old Joe, that's his mission." Fortunately, everything goes awry. He's like looking for. He believes that the Rainmaker was from this area that Joe is in, so he like tracks down. He has 3 leads, basically children at this point, because the Rainmaker isn't an adult yet. So he tracks down 3 children, and old Joe's like, yeah, I'm going to take these fools out before the Rainmaker ruins the future and ruins my life, because the Syndicate is the one that ended up killing his wife in the future. It all goes sideways, though. Young Joe ends up finding out what's going on. He's like, no, I'm gonna close my loop, tell Abe and them, like, I'm on top of this. Meanwhile, his rival, Kid Blue, everyone's favorite, Kid Blue is like still trying to prove himself. He fails a couple times, and now he's like, "No, I can do this, boss. Like, Abe, give me a chance, man." And he's just the most hapless dude with the gat, and he's just like flipping his gun around, firing it. In the leg. He shoots it. We find out in the past he shot himself in the foot because of his carelessness, all that stuff. So Kid Blue's on the hunt now to try to prove himself. Meanwhile, past Joe is like trying to close the loop on future Joe by killing him. He's like, "You're an old man, die." Everything goes sideways. They finally end up meeting together through that trick. He carves the name of the Beatrix, the girl that he... Beatrice, there you go. He carves the name into his arm, young Joe does, and old Joe sees it. He's like, "You could have used the other lady's name. She had a shorter name." And he's like, whatever. But they talk about the time paradox and all that stuff. Old Joe's not having it. He's like, "I don't care about time paradox. I don't care about any of this. All I'm trying to do is to stop the Rainmaker. You need to get out of town," basically. Young Joe, being stupid and bullheaded, he's like, "Nah, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm trying to live my life. You had your life, old man. Go and die." Old Joe's like, "No, this woman who changes your life, that's the best thing that's ever going to happen to you." And
just your fucking worthless life.
He's like, he just hates his younger self, and I was like, I can see why. Like, he made himself miserable, basically. But yeah, he's determined to have this future still, to where it's like, you're gonna meet this woman, and you're gonna have your life is gonna turn around, basically. It ends up being an ambush, though. That syndicate, it's after them. They jump both Joes at the diner that they're at. So then part of that map, the 3 targets that old Joe, whoa, Jesus Christ. Part of the hits that he had, he rips off one part of the map. Old Joe ends up getting to the 2 other ones. He has to kill these children is basically what it comes down to. Brutal stuff. He kills those 2 kids. Meanwhile, young Joe makes it to that 3rd target, a farm.
He doesn't
Didn't kill the
second
second
kid.
one.
Oh, he
kills
didn't
the
kill the
first
second
one.
Kid Blue got him.
Oh, that's right. That's
Before
right,
he
that's
killed Piper Parabos.
Do you even watch this movie?
Yeah,
forgot.
Joe.
I forgot about that part.
Come on.
He kills the first kid, doesn't kill the second kid. They ambush him. And then they capture him. Thank you for the
Just
correction.
Kid Blue.
Yep, just Kid Blue. Stupid jerk. But young Joe makes it back to the 3rd one, the farm out in the middle of Kansas, in the middle of nowhere, where Sarah is there, played by Emily Blunt. Also another phenomenal role. Man, this
This
movie is
thing,
just
yeah, it's
Totally
stacked.
forgot she was in this movie.
this so well cast. This movie.
I love her in everything and anything she's ever
so
done.
dope. Oh, I should have did the movie she was
Edge of
in.
Tomorrow.
Yep, should have did that one.
Just
Dang.
watched that last
Yeah.
week. It's
Anyway,
so good.
Anyway, she owns this farm and she lives out there with her kid. He's staking out, like trying to protect her from old Joe coming in and blasting the kid. He doesn't know. They end up piecing it together when they see that through his stay at the farm, the kid. Oh man, I forgot his name.
Sid.
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 There you go. Sid ends up having a couple bouts of psychic powers, and he's like, "What the heck is going on?"
Super psychic powers.
Yeah, he's
Not
not
this-
doing stupid quarters.
Exactly. He's not tossing quarters. He's tossing whole rooms and probably even the house if he could.
Even his mom was a little stronger too. She did like a whole cigarette
the-
lighter.
And like
it
in a
was-
bigger arc.
Yeah.
So he ends up laying out what's going on. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a looper. My loop got away," and she figures it out. It's like, "Oh yeah, you're one of those dudes." And he's like, "Oh." So they come up with a plan, basically like he's supposed to come here. He's taking out 2 other targets, and I'm gonna protect you from this old man version of me coming back and killing your kid. Meanwhile, old Joe, like he does end up getting captured and wipes out the entire syndicate. He's like, they're like, "Yeah, we got him, man. I'm gonna do all this," and freaking just John Wicks his way through everybody. It's awesome. Kid Blue's still alive though. After all that carnage, somehow still alive. Was able to try to track down old Joe in this last ditch effort to, prove himself for whatever reason. Everyone he had to prove or impress is dead. I was like, you should just walk away from this. Like, this is all dangerous. He ends up getting killed. He's stupid.
I have
But,
thoughts on Kid Blue.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, old Joe eventually makes his way to the farm. Past memories and future memories start to like merge together, and he's like, "Oh, I know where young Joe is." They end up having a showdown at the farm, and in a bit of tragedy, he's like on the verge of killing Sid. This sweet young boy. He's so precious. The moments in that part of the movie were just like, "Oh no, this boy." But
With his funky teeth.
That kid was creepy. Let's be honest.
I think that's perfect. It was the right balance of sweetness and like
It
creepiness.
kind of
'cause-
reminded me of my nephew because his teeth are all like growing in, so he's got that cute, weird
Like
face.
he's,
It's like,
he's telekinetic.
He's got powers,
He's
psychic
also-
powers. But yeah, they have this showdown on the farm. Old Joe ends up chasing young Joe, Sarah, and Sid through the cornfields and everything. And it comes to a moment where he almost completes his mission, takes a shot with the Gatman's revolver, hits him right in the cheek. The kid's like, "Meow," and then everybody's like floating in the air, and psychic vibes are flying all over the place. And she ends up being able to calm down Sid. Sarah does, in a touching, tender moment. Also, dangerous moment. They could have all just been wiped out by his incredible psychic powers. She tells him to run, and she's like blocking the way while he runs into the cornfields. And young Joe, at this moment in time, figures out it's like, this is the moment that could change the trajectory of this kid. He ends up becoming the Rainmaker because his mom got killed, and he wasn't able to protect her and save her and all of that. And so he still has his blunderbuss, which is the short-range weapon. He can't reach it. He can't run fast enough to get there, and it's only a matter of time before old Joe gets his shot and like kills the kid. So at that very moment, he makes the decision. He's like, "Oh, well, if I need to close my loop, he does the self-sacrifice thing and turns the blunderbuss on himself and blasts. And when that happens, old Joe just vanishes out of existence. Saves the kid and potentially changes the trajectory of the future. And that's how the movie ends. It's so powerful and it's so good. Initial thoughts, I guess, from y'all. We'll start with John on the movie Looper.
I forgot how good this movie was. I remember the hype going into it. It was like futuristic and like all this time travel stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's right up my alley. And it was just as good as the first time I saw it, if not better. I liked it. I enjoyed the movie.
Chanel, what about you?
I liked it. I feel like they like the premise where like they have time travel and then they have these gangsters and they're sending them back to shoot them. I feel like they could have gone in a different direction with the story. It kind of feels like the telekinesis stuff was kind of just like a random thing that was thrown in there. You know, like, oh, by the way, there's this genetic mutation, and then that turns out to be the big thing. That kind of was just like it was ham-fisted in there. You know that movie Passengers, where like with
Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're on I feel the same way. Like they had this great premise, and they took it in a different way, where they made it a love story instead of like they're on a ship going through space. Where 90 years from now they're gonna show up in a different place, but they chose to talk about the love story. I don't know. It felt, you know, like like another story is there, but they chose this story.
Also, that movie proved that Chris Pratt is not leading man material.
Yeah,
it was weird. But like that's kind of how I feel about this, where it's like they have this really cool premise. They send these people back to kill them, and then they make it about protecting this mom and her kid in a field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel the same way, but I kind of like that. That's what I like about Rian Johnson is he sees this whole thing and he's like, I'm gonna do this weird fucking thing instead, you know. That's why I like The Last Jedi, because I think that's what he did there. Like,
oh no, why did you bring that up? Why did you bring that up?
I'll just move it over here because it's fucking weird and I like it, and that's what I liked about The Last Jedi. But anyway, I just see Looper when it was coming out because I liked Brick. I think that was the movie he did. Yeah, that was the first movie he did before this one.
Yeah,
and it had Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it, and it has that guy Noah Segan who plays Kid Blue.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember we were talking about Kablam last week?
Yes.
I was gonna tell you guys then, but I mean not the last episode. Sorry, we talked about Kablam. Kid
Which
Blue
is on
is
Facebook,
Henry
by the way.
from Kablam.
He was on Kablam.
He was?
Was he?
Yeah, that's what he did. He was like a young actor, a kid actor before he did all this. So that's another reason why I watched Brick for him, because I was a weird kid and I was like, oh, he's so weird. Anyway,
you liked Ickis, so you know.
It's true.
You got things to talk to somebody about.
It sounds like a fun conversation either way.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I like the angle there, Marisa, with Rian Johnson and the way he views things and the slant that he took in his storytelling. I like that take. Brian, what about you?
Solid 6 out of 10. This felt very like, I know it's from the early 2010s, but it very much feels like that. Especially when you look at it like this to me, it had some cool concepts, but like I could not get into it that much. Like I was like, oh, I mean, this is good. This is something I'd be into. It's all cyberpunky and like it's totally my aesthetic. You think I'd be totally into this movie? I don't know. I was there for it.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like I
was there for it. I mean, maybe I'm just not I'm trying to think of anything else that Rian Johnson's done that I've liked.
Knives Out.
Knives Out. Yeah, I did like that.
But I think that's because
I feel like
where he looks at the weird concept and he stuck the landing that time.
Yeah.
But I feel like he didn't stick the landing here in Looper, and he might not have stuck the landing in Last Jedi.
I mean, there's a lot that I just was like, man, this is throwing me off. One of the first thing is all the prosthetics for Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I like
We'll save that.
Yeah. We'll save
Okay,
that for the
okay.
next section. But yeah. So, okay, we got a mixed crowd here. I like it.
Let's go with
See,
things I like.
This is why I like picking the movies I like picking, because they're all kind of polarizing. There's one side, the other side, or maybe the middle too. But on that, oh, you have these back. Things I liked.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
first?
Sorry.
Okay. So things I liked. We'll start with Marisa on this one.
I liked, my favorite scene in the movie is the one where they find young Seth and they're like torturing him, and that guy, he starts seeing all that shit and he's like walking through the city like I love that shit. Even though if you kind of think about it, it doesn't make sense. Like
Right.
But
what does it make sense about it? I thought
the whole time traveling in this universe doesn't make sense. And Bruce Willis explains that. He's like, yeah, when we start talking about this, we're gonna be sitting here forever talking about it. So I'm ignoring all the time travel bullshit that happened in this movie and just looking at it as a movie. So I'm ignoring all that.
Suspend your
you have to suspend your belief a little.
Yeah, that's why it was like that was the coolest. That was my oh shit moment. Like that was the best thing in the movie, honestly.
That was freaking
That's why it's just like there's so much potential here, and then they did the other thing. That's how
that scene did heighten the, to your point what he said, that did heighten the immediacy of it, because it's like you don't know what's gonna happen, and whenever they use that trick, when young Joe uses that trick on old Joe to get them to get to the meeting, you're like, oh man, did they catch young Joe? And now it's like, yeah. So I thought that heightened the suspense on that part later on in the movie.
With that is they established time travel as like a very small plot and device, and they used a couple tricks for it, and then that was it.
Yeah. I like that they briefly touched on that. Were there any other things you liked about it? What he said?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I like some angles. I like the way Ryan Johnson uses the camera, but other than that,
she's all Kid Blue. He's great.
That's
Oh, Kid Blue.
John, what about you?
The exposition, so it kind of details how society has fallen and how the syndicates work. It basically sets up the cyberpunk aspect of this, which I did like too, going back to Brian's point. The Cowboy Bebop references. You had Bloody Eye.
Yep.
Joe goes bang when he's laying in the bed right before he goes out. Again, cyberpunk stuff in the city. Old Joe being able to see what Joe has done as memories. Like this kind of goes back into the time travel aspect of it, but it lets them stay connected in some way using what they have readily available to them, which is his memories, old Joe, and then Joe himself using the scarring technique to send a message. I thought that was cool.
Chanel, what say you?
I like the whole premise of it. Like I said, I feel like I'm just repeating myself again, where it's just like
you're jumping ahead.
I'm not jumping ahead.
Read the rundown.
I have it in front of me, okay? And like that's the thing that I really, really like about like the whole idea and like the world that they built was really cool. I also like the whole cyberpunk aesthetic of it and like how the set design, how everything, all the people are just like everywhere, all the vagrants are everywhere, and he's just riding on the sidewalk to get around them. Like they're just people. They're not people. They're just like things in his way.
They're inconveniences.
Yeah. So he just needs to get around them.
Especially to people that had money. They're just like, oh man, poor people, get out of the way.
And it kind of feels like that's just like throwing what's happening now in your face. Like there's just these things in your way. And he almost hits this kid when he's on drugs. And it's like when he's on drugs, it's kind of like, whoa, that's actually, he might seem like he's more aware of it. But before it was just like, get the fuck out of my way. And even when in one of the establishing scenes, when he drives around a school bus and then this guy goes and steals the guy's suitcase and the other guy just shoots him. No one cares. You know, it's just the world that was established. I really like the world.
Yes.
You know, so like that was really cool.
Brian, what about you?
What I liked about it, man, I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt's performance. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I don't think he gets enough credit.
Yeah.
He's definitely a leading man type, other like Chris Pratt, who's not. And he still hasn't like it makes me mad that he still hasn't had that like one role that like people are gonna be like, that guy is great, because he's fantastic. So like his performance, his Bruce Willis, the way he talks and stuff like that. I remember reading about how he would just listen to, and this is going to show the date of this movie. He would just listen to Bruce Willis talking on his iPod. so he would just constantly have that, it's like almost like, hey, how he was listening to French. He would just be sitting there and learning how to talk like Bruce Willis. So his performance, by far, I think my favorite part of the movie. The cyberpunk aesthetic is cool. I feel like there's a lot more they could have done, but like those are like my two favorite aspects of the whole movie.
I like that we have a decent spread on the different things. The thing I liked a lot, and I mentioned it up top, was the casting on this movie. Like, you could not have, in the cinematography, to match that as well. To like, everything felt very grounded. You know, in the fact that it's like it's the future and there's time travel and some technology, but everything's like half grody at the same time. So I like that they had this interplay of, yeah, it's like almost a dystopian type of future, but also it's like people still live and like there are things that people would need or
I think that's kind of
technologies that develop.
that's kind of what makes it scary too, is that it's not too far removed from our future, because this takes place in what, 2047 or something like that.
44.
Yeah.
And it's not too far removed. You still have cars that are on the ground. Yeah, you have hover bikes and stuff like that, but outside of that, you still have a unified form of currency. You have everybody living at this ground level, like you were saying, and in some places, even now, like the relevancy we talked about the other day, it's relevant. It's still, this movie still holds, I think.
Yeah, a lot of the socioeconomical things that we get to see, they don't, they don't do a whole exposition on it, but those still are very poignant in how we live now. Because this movie was made 2010, 2012. So yeah, 10 years ago up to now, it's like, oh shoot, like some of these themes are still relevant, which I
feel like those themes are always relevant.
Yeah, I
all
think
the time.
anything
Like,
with a cyberpunk aesthetic or a feel, like, because we are definitely moving into like an age like that. Like cyberpunk has influenced technology, it's influenced behaviors, drugs, even.
Yeah.
Like all this stuff is being influenced by this genre. And I feel like, yeah, like we're heading into that. So yeah, this movie I think will hold relevancy for years to come.
I feel like even without the cyberpunk thing, like just the thing, they're the haves, the have-nots. That's just, you could go back to medieval times. You can tell that story, and like even with gangster, like you can tell the story in any time period.
Yeah.
So like that's something that, like, it's definitely not going to age, because like it's a story that you can always tell.
I like like to your point too, Chanel, the noir aspects of it. We get a lot of narration from Joe. He's kind of like a semi-stoic kind of dude, which is a theme of most noir stories. Like you have the hero or the main character, not necessarily hero. They have like this kind of grit about them and like this the stoicness to them, which again, to your point, you get some of these same themes or same elements, and you can shift them forward or backward in time, and it's still like, it's always a good fit. We're always gonna like noir type stuff or like organized crime stories and stuff like that.
I just imagine like a really like emo knight somewhere with his sword, like, oh gosh, I gotta go stab that peasant, and he puts his thing down. He gets on his horse.
Just wish sometimes I could cut myself with it.
Oh, these lords are making I'm making these lords richer while I'm sleeping on hay. I got typhus last week. It's a problem.
Okay, so on the not feeling it, I feel like Chanel and Brian had some stronger things to say, so we'll start with Chanel.
Okay, so I said the whole thing about the telekinesis stuff. It just felt like it was ham-fisted in there. Like again, they had all this stuff they could do. John disagrees, but I just feel like it didn't need to be in there. They could have found a different thing, like apart from some random genetic mutation.
But what else? I'm sorry. What else would they put in there that wouldn't just feel put in? Telekinesis had a big part of the story.
Yeah,
not nothing that you really see, but it did have a big part of the story.
It just
I can disagree with you there.
Yeah, I know it's a big part of the story, but it's just like he's all of a sudden he's writing. It's like, oh, I'm doing this coin thing, and then you see a billboard, and it's like, do you have telekinesis? We can test for you. And he's just like, yeah. Oh, by the way, this genetic mutation happened. Like maybe it's the way they introduced it.
So it's the narration of the whole thing.
No,
or you just feel like they should just be like.
It just feels like
it.
this is a cyberpunk. Like it was not in the right genre. Maybe that's how I should say it.
Yeah.
It just felt like we were doing this one thing, and then, oh, by the way, there are mutants here. That's what it felt like.
Would that not make sense though? Because in the future, as people kind of develop,
evolve,
and things happen like that to where.
Let's think about that. Like it's 2044, and we're in 2022 right now. Like genetic mutation takes millions of years.
Yes.
Do we think that that's gonna happen in the next 20 years?
Who's to say the 20 years from now that's the millionth year?
The thing is, though, I'm not arguing with the fact that it's there. Like in their world, it happened. Like
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with that.
You needed
I
that
just-
brief. You needed that brief introduction for the exposition because this kid has to demonstrate that he becomes something in the
Yeah.
Look,
future.
I get
He's a
I
viable
get the
threat.
story.
He's a viable threat now,
I
as
get the
opposed to because it can be like, oh man, this kid's a fucking sick shot and he knows how to use guns at age 6.
like look man, I get the story and that it's in the story and that's a part of their world. It just felt weird because usually when you see a cyberpunk thing, it's usually like it's not a magic thing.
this was
It's not
also-
like magic.
It's still
I didn't-
within the realm of science fiction though. Like
it
this
didn't-
movie is a
I
sci-fi
just didn't
movie.
like it.
This was
That's all I
also
can really say
very
about it.
heavily inspired by one of my favorite movies of all time, Akira. And
Yeah, I
Akira
tried to watch
has
Akira.
telekinesis.
I was
And that's a
So-
sci-fi
so
movie,
bored.
yeah.
Oh man, I tried to watch Akira. I got so bored.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Well,
I need
that
to watch
hurts
it
me.
again. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just like me stealing you. All I do is hurt you, Brian.
I know.
Just steal you off the show and tell you I don't like your things. I'm sorry. But yeah, it just felt weird to me. I guess in my head, when there's a movie that has a set like this or has a certain feeling, it just doesn't have those other things in there. Like it just didn't feel right. But apart from that, like I could have done without Kid Blue. I didn't need him.
What? No, Kid Blue is probably one of my favorite
Oh,
things, to be honest.
I felt like that was like them finding
know
a
what?
way to. It felt like he was in the movie at the beginning, so that at the end he could be a distraction for young Joe, so old Joe could go off.
Kid-
That's what it felt like when that happened. It's like, oh, this is why he's here, so we can distract him for 2 minutes.
Kid
That's what it felt
Blue
like to me.
very much reminded me of any of the villains from The Crow. Did you guys get that too?
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just like, man, he's like a combination of Fun Boy, fucking like all these other guys like combined into one, and he's just kind of funny too.
I've
like,
never seen The Crow, so maybe that's my.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
that's
That's
gonna be
Brian's next
Brian's pick.
pick.
Yep.
I'm
I don't know
sorry,
if that's my next
Brian.
pick. I have
Oh, man.
other ones in plan, but that is a good one.
But yeah, I could do without Kid Blue.
And the telekinesis.
And then I think though I kind of wish like they kind of went in the future a little bit and I got a little bit more closure. I know some people like when things end just like open ended, and that's a personal thing. I just kind of and I understand why they did that because he could still turn out evil, and I kind of hope he does, because that kid still had some problems. Maybe some other inciting event happened.
Well, that's like one of the concepts of the ending. It's so open ended.
Yeah.
Like you hear all these stories about the Rainmaker, how he saw his mother died. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
That already happened.
No, actually it didn't.
You know,
because
yes, it did.
It was
He
his-
killed.
his-
He
His
killed.
mom- He killed.
but-
Well,
But
he
he
said
believes-
it, so what he
Yeah,
thought his
yeah.
mother.
He believes that was his
Mhm.
mother.
That's true. You're right.
So
He
and he
turns to
never
Sarah, though.
you know,
The way
he
they-
does call her mom later on in the movie,
But the way they do it, they show that part where he's like, "Oh," and in an instant, I can see a man ready to kill anyone for his wife, a mother ready to die for her kid, and a child that sees all that and like grows up. Like it made it seem like that was the event they were talking about. The way that the movie did it. Like I get what you're saying, but the
Mhm.
movie makes it seem that is the killing of his mother that happens.
If he loses Sarah, that's it. Like that's the whole crux of
Yeah.
him becoming the Rainmaker. I can totally see that, and I think they presented that pretty well. Brian, what did you have that you didn't like? I know you touched on a couple things earlier.
didn't like. I thought we
Yeah.
were talking about things we do like.
No, we don't.
No,
like
we're
that.
past that.
We're the next category.
I'm just making sure. Just making sure. Things that I didn't like, man. Honestly, I didn't really care for Bruce Willis killing off everybody.
Yeah.
I thought that was poorly done because there's one scene where he's just shooting at like an empty hallway that you don't see these guys dying.
Yeah.
You know, all the stuff before that was cool, but like that was just so fucking weird to me.
Yeah, this Rambo
And
moment.
then the prosthetics, I cannot get over it. Like one time Joseph Gordon-Levitt looks just like Bruce Willis, and then another one he's like it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt. The prosthetics were so inconsistent, it fucking jarred me the whole time. I was like, who the fuck am I watching?
Somehow that wasn't a problem for me. Like I feel
You
like
know?
because I knew that there were some people that said that, I was just like, it's just Gordon-Levitt in a
Yeah.
prosthetic.
It didn't bother.
And
yeah,
I
it didn't
got
bother me.
over it real quick.
Yeah, it was just so jarring for me, and I was just like, man, every time I like saw him, it just took me out of the movie. I was like, man, that just does not look great.
I'm gonna make a joke at your expense. The part he's like, "Oh, time travel, cool." The prosthetics, no, that's unbelievable.
Bro, I'm sorry, like it takes you out of the movie.
Oh,
Like
no.
when something doesn't look right or something looks
Yeah.
uncanny,
Yeah.
it takes you out. Like I want to be zoned in this movie, and watch it, and just experience that
creates
movie.
that- yeah, it creates
But
a
when
little
I
bit of
see something
separation.
that's just like uncanny,
Yeah.
like I'm just like, that takes me out. That now I'm thinking about that instead of the plot, instead of what's happening in the movie. I'm thinking about him. That's one of the biggest things. Like if if the CGI, like a lot of the times, like
And the SFX,
I'll
that's
say this: Mandalorian season 2 finale, when Luke Skywalker unveils his face, took me out of the movie. I can say the same thing about
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
It's still a great moment. Still made me fucking cry. But that moment, it's the same concept. It just took me out, and then I was like, well, now I'm out of the movie. Now I'm
Yeah.
out of that experience.
We are
The
in
best
agreement.
compliment
We
you
are
could give to an SFX person is like, yeah, I didn't notice that thing you did.
Mhm.
You know?
Well, it's like, okay, I'm gonna bring it up. The Batman. Look at, like, this is no spoilers,
Colin
but
Farrell.
look at the Colin Farrell, and honestly, through that whole movie, I did not think about that's Colin Farrell. That looks weird. I just thought that's the Penguin.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy though. The guy who did the prosthetics, he has won many Oscars for doing them. Like he does extremely.
I think he
good
won.
And maybe it's just
for
me.
that
Maybe it's just
movie
me.
for
I-
Robert.
No, it wasn't just you, because I remember people were saying that.
Yeah.
Back when the movie
I
came
think it
out.
also has to do with the fact that people
Costume.
think Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and they want to see a certain thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get babyface Joseph Gordon-Levitt, 500 Days of Summer, whatever.
I think honestly, it just would have been better if they just like, here's no prosthetics. Here's just don't think about it.
Yeah.
Don't think about that these are
They
the
didn't
same
need to do
people.
the
Because they do that
because
with father and
because
son all the
even
time. Right.
even when they are together, they're two separate characters. They don't think
Yeah.
the same.
Well, that's
And
the whole.
you can look
I
at
think-
yeah,
I
you
think
can
that's
look
the
at
whole
Bruce.
thing, though. When
Mhm.
he has this life and he has these thoughts about the younger version of himself. You're gonna want to see those differences are gonna stand out. Like,
Yeah, but I just don't. I didn't see any reason for the prosthetics. I think they could have kept that out. And
I agree. with you.
honestly, it would have sucked me in more. It would have like put me in that world more, and I wouldn't be taken out of it because I would see horrible looking Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
John, what about you?
I had a plethora of things, but yeah, Joe looks weird. Young Joe just looks weird. I didn't like it, and it was funny. I was watching this with Adriana, and she was just like, "Is that Joseph Gordon-Levitt?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was just like, "Oh, why does he look like that? Is he wearing prosthetics?" And it's like, "Oh, it's okay." She put it together, but like the general audience kind of seeing that, like, it's a little bit jarring.
Yeah.
Joe getting his ass knocked out by old Joe twice. Step your game up, dude.
Yeah, I also think it's like he knows.
This old man should not be rocking your shit.
Nah,
But
there's an argument to be
it's
made
like-
for the fact that he's been doing this for 30 years
yeah.
longer than him.
See,
you know?
and I
He's
get
got
it. I get it.
experience.
But you also know if he's been doing this for a long time, his bones hurt, his knees are weak.
Yeah,
He's
I think
slow.
that makes him. I think that makes him a more effective fighter because he knows his
Yeah.
limitations, and so he's like, okay, I'm gonna come up with other ways to do this.
I'm gonna hit you with this gold brick, and then I'm gonna punch you.
Yeah,
But then it's like it's him. Like he knows
also Bruce
what
Willis.
hurts. That's true.
Yeah,
He
that's-
can't die, apparently.
Like, I
You
can
seen
believe-
any
I can
dialogue
believe that
movie?
from
Twice.
Bruce Willis.
Twice. Once is okay. Like the first time's a surprise. Like holy shit, I just saw my old self. Understandable. Second time you're getting rocked. No, that should not happen.
In the-
Like
when
Joe
you're talking about
said,
the
game up.
restaurant?
Also, yeah. Also, like I get that he is just a blunderbuss carrying motherfucker. So they basically
doesn't
have no
engage.
they basically have no skills.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, it's just because I point this thing at you, and if you're within 50 paces of me, it's gonna hit you.
yeah.
Kid Blue even says it. Like
Yeah.
the whole thing about how he's so much better, and then he's like,
Yeah.
"They're gonna shoot your leg off again." That
And that also Kid Blue is saying that it also leads into the ending on how like he chooses to off himself.
Yeah.
Besides, because he's like he can't fucking reach him. Like
Mhm.
there's nothing he can do
Also,
at that
that's
point.
that's what I didn't like either. They didn't really show you that he got his knee injured. He can't run because his knee's fucked up. If you watch it again, which hopefully you have, joining us watching this movie club, when he gets in the accident, he like fucks his knee. No, it's when Kid Blue first shows up in the country.
Yeah.
That's when he hurts his knee, and then it kind of like he's like and then it's like really quick, and then Bruce Willis is gone. It's like, oh shit, I need to go find him.
hmm
But that's the only reason why he couldn't close that distance is because his knee.
Well, I think the reason he couldn't close the distance is because it was distance, and he was not going to be fast enough at all.
Yeah.
Like even if he had both his legs, I don't think he could have made it. And I thought he thought like the best solution to this is just like I'm going to kill myself, and that's going to end this whole thing.
Yeah. Another thing I didn't like,
which I saw like a million miles away. Like I was like, oh, he's gonna off himself at the end of this movie. Like I know it.
Old Joe, show him killing Abe. Like he just went on the fucking rampage, and this goes back to Brian. Just like he's like, yeah, motherfuckers, and he's just like shooting those machine guns, just like going crazy. Like show him wasting all these dudes, like to show that he's a bad motherfucker. Like we get it.
And like Abe is a big character. He wasn't.
We
just
never once got that. We don't see, this guy's a badass.
We don't see Abe at all. He's just.
He's dead.
That's not how you kill Jeff Daniels.
You don't kill him off screen. You
do it in front. It's a spectacle. You
blow him up.
Going back to like the future part of this, you could have had as the timeline goes on, you could have had the Rainmaker just like splattering dudes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like give me some of that just to show how much of a threat this kid is, instead of like, oh man, like he's sending all of us back and he's closing loops and stuff like that. Like
it felt. Sorry, go ahead.
Part of that is the intrigue of it, though. It's the mystery of how horror movies are able to push themselves in such a way.
Don't
it's like
show
the audience,
the thing.
exactly. The audience draws this interpretation of it, and it goes from there. Which
that's
I
good.
don't think
That's
they
good.
did it right, though.
That's fine. But when Bruce Willis is talking, when they're talking in the diner, that should have been a scene where like the Rainmaker is like floating there, and there's like a whole bunch of dudes.
I don't think that's necessary, to be honest.
I don't think
he would have
that.
to have seen it. Yeah, he would have to have seen it in action.
I do agree, though, that like they didn't like. I get what you're saying, Joe, about it being a mystery. Like, oh, he has all these myths around him. He saw his mom shot, but like, I don't think they did it right because I didn't feel scared.
That's fair.
I didn't feel like this was an ominous thing. Like he's doing it by himself. Like they just didn't do that right.
They could have keyed in on to old Joe's fear of that. Like this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think that you're right. They could have strengthened that connection a little bit more. So we could have gotten more out of future Joe.
So that when he kills a child, it like you don't hate Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Because I hated it.
That's probably part of the reason why they left that out. It's like, oh, so it's just this dude killing kids now.
Well, they tried to make it seem like he's doing it because he loves his wife. Like they try to get you emotionally that way, where it's like he'll do anything to make sure that she lives and all that. Like I just don't think they did it well enough. I didn't feel the connection.
But I saw your ears perk up a couple of times on some things that people didn't like. What was sticking out to you?
So ham stuff.
I mean, basically the same things. Oh god, I just dropped some stuff. Sorry, everybody. I didn't like his face. Like I remember first watching it, and I just couldn't figure out why. I couldn't figure it out through any viewing until Brian brought it up, and I was like, oh shit, you're right. It totally pulled me out of the movie. That's why I didn't like it. But that's my biggest qualm. Otherwise, I enjoyed this movie.
I have two more.
Yeah,
I have two more, and you fucking skipped me.
Go ahead. I was coming back. I'm skipping
He just back to his DM shit.
I'm skipping around around the horn style. Go back.
Sid, totally dead. When that truck flips, he's a child in the front seat.
He's a child with telekinesis.
Yeah, but that telekinesis ain't gonna protect his ass when the truck is flipping over.
He can do this.
He didn't do anything.
You don't know that.
He was like this. Hey. And then the truck fucking flipped over. Also, Sarah gets out of that with a scratch. She's fine.
Plot was a very big
plot armor,
protector.
Yes.
And the final thing I didn't like, Sarah getting all kinds of horny just because a dude shows up.
That was
I like that shit. I loved it. I remember.
Yeah, I was like, I saw her. I was like, she's about to call Joe. She's about to call Joe, and they're gonna bang.
I get it.
She's a ribbit. She's a ribbit.
She was like, I'm feeling a little bit froggy tonight.
I like the.
I understand.
You know what? Fuck it. I got some dick. I'm gonna get some dick.
Good for her. It just
It's like if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die getting late.
Going back to what Brian said though about this being a 2012 movie, you could have had that the connection between the two characters without that. I think.
Man, okay, yes, you could have, but I liked it. I don't know. I like a good.
It was just. I like a good
romance
out of nowhere. It was just out of nowhere.
Not even a romance, just like we're gonna hook up. Like
it was just out of nowhere. Like she didn't like.
Oh, it was.
No, I thought she liked it. Ever since she saw him out there, she was like, "Oh, he's sweaty though. I'm gonna let him stay in."
He's an idiot. he can't do anything for himself. A little kid is smarter than him.
That's absolutely why she likes him, John. Obviously, she likes him.
You know,
Also, another thing I didn't like is that she very briefly talks about her past in the city. She all of a sudden like understands the whole world of loopers.
but she was probably like
was one of
Piper
those
Parabo's
girls.
character, where she
Right?
was a comfort girl. or
Yeah.
something, you know, they know about loopers.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what it was implied.
I originally, when I was watching it, because I got pulled out of the movie so many times because of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's face, I had originally thought that was the girl that he was like in the bed with earlier. I was very confused.
They look completely different.
and they wait.
One is
I told you. Listen.
One is from Coyote Ugly. The other one is Emily Blunt.
I know that.
Many
I know
things.
that. I'm telling you, I got pulled out of that movie so much by looking at Joseph Gordon's face. I did not realize those were two different actresses until the other one showed up later.
Okay.
Do all women look the same to you, Brian?
Wait,
Is that what you're
real
saying?
quick.
They're both blonde. Like
No, they're
it was
not.
dark in the club. Fuck off.
That's true. All women look the same. to
There's a
Brian.
reason this movie has a 6 out of 10 for me. Okay. So
Oh.
Wait, very quickly. Let's just all do our Joe face real quick.
We all did. You had to do the bottom lip because that's really what it was.
That's it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Brian looks like De Niro.
He was all, you talking to me?
he kind of looked like it. Like now I'm
A little bit, a little
kind of
bit.
looked like De Niro a couple times.
Well,
All right, I'm
to
done.
Be,
That was
fair,
it, not
to be
me.
fair, I think Bruce Willis does channel De Niro sometimes because like they were comparable at one point, but De Niro like had it on lock. Let's see. Quotables. Most quotable moment of the film. John.
That little shit. Two people say it in the movie, Abe and Old Joe.
Nice.
And that's the only line that was memorable out of this entire movie.
I thought
didn't
that part where they're in the diner and like he says it in French, like you have a gun between your legs, and he's like, "What are you gonna do? Take the gun from between your legs and do it? If you want to kill me, do it." That's the only thing that I remember too.
That wasn't memorable.
For me, it was memorable.
What about you, Marisa?
I'm trying to think of a quote.
Oh,
I don't have
the
anything
only
else.
one, and it's stuck in my head because it's such a pivotal moment in like hey, don't think about it, is when he's talking about time travel. You know, we could be sitting here talking about time travel all day. Like that quote. I don't know it by memory, but that is like.
But that's what makes
the
a
only
quotable
thing.
quote. That's what makes a
Yeah.
quotable
Yeah.
quote is if it's memorable. There were no memorable
He
lines.
liked-
Well, you
he
little
like-
shit. I don't think that's a. I mean, I guess it's a quote, but I
Two
don't
people
know.
said it.
that didn't stand out to me.
Wow.
The one,
Yeah,
the
I don't
one that
remember
stood out-
that,
the one
John.
that stood out to me was why don't you do what old men do and die? I like that.
That's
one.
that is a good one.
That does, yeah.
There was another one I had here. Where's my document?
See, he can't remember them.
See, exactly.
This movie was not very quotable. I will
No.
tell you that.
No,
It
it
wasn't.
I did like that one a lot. His monologue in the beginning, they are quotable in the fact that like if you like monologues and noir type stuff, you know those kind of draw you in. We'll
You
skip to-
can't quote a whole fucking
Yeah.
I know.
monologue. Come on.
that's
I mean,
why
you
said
could
for
quote a whole monologue, but I don't think it's quotable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like not whatever. Gawd
It's not
shot.
like again. I'm gonna go back to Batman because I just seen it twice. On
seen it twice,
Vengeance.
right?
Yeah, I've already seen it
But
twice.
isn't that like a Batman thing? That's not like
Ah.
that's not a
No,
movie.
the only-
either
That's not
I
a
am the
Batman
night.
thing.
I am the night.
Yeah, what is that from?
I'm gonna beat your ass.
It's I am the night. I am Vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Yeah.
To,
That's
to
an
me,
animated series.
Oh,
to
no.
me, to me,
Okay.
my X-Men. He says that.
We're not talking about
But
Batman.
I'm just saying.
We're not talking
I'm just
about
saying.
Batman
In
thing.
general, that's something quotable.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
You know,
Vengeance.
I don't know. Like I just didn't see or hear
I like the
anything
old
Yeah.
from
why don't
this.
you see what old men do and die. I like that part.
That is
good-
That's a good line. That's
Got-
probably the best
it's a
line.
good line.
God shot. What y'all got?
Only one I could think of was when he fell off the fire escape and the camera does a 90-degree angle with him.
Incorrect.
That's the only one I can. Incorrect. That's what you didn't think that was a good shot. I thought that was a great. That was the only
Sid's.
shot
I
could
have
remember.
here. I have listed Sid's first tantrum.
Eh,
It kind of shifts the tone of the movie a little bit.
I don't know if it was a not shot. I just thought like all the telekinesis stuff. It was that visual effect stuff was kind of jarring for me, especially the last one where they're in the field. Like it felt like that was a CG thing. It didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good shot for me. But that part, I wasn't expecting that when he lets go of the thing for
Yeah.
the camera to turn. So it was like, oh, it didn't take me out of it. I was just like, oh, that's cool. you know. So
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I had Sid's first tantrum. The Gatman in the house sequence, the camera just kind of moving around everywhere. So
Yeah.
it lets you know the space, which is why I liked it. It lets you know how the home is set up, and then all the characters just kind of moving around.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. And then,
Gawd shot though, like
It's good cinematography.
I don't think
I know it's good cinematography. I just didn't see it as a
We
Gawd
need to,
shot.
we
And then,
need to
we
rename
need a
this
definition.
category because like there's a lot of good
Yeah.
cinematography. in this.
the Rainmaker reveal at the end, I
Yeah.
did like that sequence.
What about you, Brian?
When they're in the house and where Sid kills Jesse, which is played by phenomenal actor Garrett Dillahunt. Dillahunt, I think that's how you pronounce
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
He's great, and I think he's great in everything he's in. Very underrated.
Great cast.
But so when he's up there and the blood's basically coming out of him,
Oh, man.
you actually see the Rainmaker. That was cool. The only other one I can think of is the flashbacks to Old Joe. It's a little cheesy, but I don't know why I like it. He turns around, he shoots a gun. You just see he has Joseph Gordon-Levitt has this like
Yeah.
long hair, and he's just like got this like badass action pose. I
Yeah.
don't know why I like it.
Oh,
I
I
do.
do.
It's so cheesy, but
No, same. That was my
But then he
picture.
turned into Bruce Willis with emo hair, and it's just like, why?
Yeah,
there's a couple questionable things that
Yeah.
Bruce Willis did.
When he's
Like
just
he had some
face
questionable
missed.
style choices, but just that one moment, I was like, that kind of looks like that makes me feel like I'm in a different movie almost.
Yeah.
But-
Mhm.
So that
That's
was
it,
one
I
of
got-
your,
that's
that
all
was
I
one of
got.
your God shots too. When he said the
Yeah, that was the same one. That
Where he
one.
turns around and he got-
Basically, every single one everyone already said was on
Yeah.
my list. So.
Those are all pretty standout ones. One of the
Sorry,
ones.
yeah, my Rainmaker reveal was the scene Brian was talking about, actually, not the
Okay,
end.
okay.
Because the end looked like
Okay,
you could
gotcha.
tell they were suspended. So
Yeah.
you can kind of see the wire a little bit,
Yeah.
or at least the framing of the
Yeah.
harness that goes on them.
Maybe you could see like it'd be funny if you just saw
Yeah.
the clothes up.
They're all pinched out.
But no, that Rainmaker sequence, when he falls down the stairs, Adriana was just like, and then she like grabbed my hand, and it's funny because you see Sarah
she's
running.
You think she's running
And
to
she
help
goes
him.
to save Joe.
She's like, nope, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she goes in the safe when he gets upset before. Like, he's obviously the Rainmaker. And I clocked that whole telekinesis thing a long time ago. Like,
Yeah.
in the beginning of when they first meet. And he's a creepy little kid. It's like, he's the Rainmaker. And he's the Rainmaker because of telekinesis, because they said it would take an army, and he's only doing it as one person. It's like, oh, telekinesis in this? It must be that. Like, it just felt like I was able to tell what was going to happen.
One part.
Oh yeah,
I
this
feel like-
movie was very predictable. I think.
Yeah.
one part I think they dropped the ball on in terms of cinematography is like whenever they were under the influence, they could have done a lot more with those sequences, like color shifts, different types of like bokeh on like focus points and stuff like that. Even orientation of the camera, I think they could have did a lot with those just to get a kind of a sense of like this is why he's drawn to using the drugs to escape from all that stuff.
It makes him feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
Another
I
thing with
think-
the drugs, though, it's like it took a day for him to get over the withdrawals.
oh,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I think that would like be on like the
That's feature
level
drugs.
of heroin, basically, because he was going through withdrawals and
Yeah,
shit like that.
yeah.
So it's like
But it was
that
so
that was some shit.
It'll take
Like,
Also,
a
I
long
don't think
time.
I don't even think he was 100% after that
No.
day. I think he was still pretty messed up. Like
Oh, okay.
there were some things I felt like he could have probably succeeded in a little
Yeah.
bit better.
I mean, he's
but-
a junkie. That's what
Yeah.
Bruce Willis calls
Yeah.
him when he's like, "You're a junkie. Look at you."
Hmm.
Like,
some of the better cinematography, some of the better moments that felt more impactful were on the flashbacks for Old Joe, because everything just was way softer and way more intimate. Like everything was like closer. I do agree with all of y'all's God shots too. Like that turn in the trench coat with the long hair, like getting that action in slow motion is freaking cool. Like
Yeah.
God, he didn't have to do a whole lot in there, but then and then the jarringness of
I didn't show him do anything. What are you talking? That scene was in the trailer, and it was completely wasted. It was just like, oh man, he could do some cool shit. Like, nah, he's just turning and shooting someone that is probably already wounded.
That doesn't take away from it looking awesome.
Yeah, it's in slow-mo, bro.
Yeah, it's freaking cool
But
looking.
imagine like I'm gonna make a peanut butter jelly. No. Imagine it's like Death Note where he's like, I'm going to eat a sandwich, and they make
all-
it.
Oh my God, that
I'm
was
gonna write these names, and like they did it as a
John-
joke, but like that's what happened. It's
Me
a
and-
cool ass shot, but he's
So
eating
I'm
a
gonna
sandwich.
call John a hypocrite on this one because we both tend to flare our actions in actual life. So like the fact that you're talking down on that part, but we do tend to add some flair to some of the things that we do, like flipping a pencil when we pick it up or something.
It's
like
funny.
that.
Okay, it's funny you say this because we were actually cleaning out some of the stuff at work, and I was standing in one of the doorways after I had just fucking knocked out this entire room, and I was standing in the doorway, just kind of like turned, like, hell yeah. And a couple people walked by. They were like, "Did you do all of that?" And I was like, "I did."
God dang right. So don't act like you wouldn't put a little finesse on your kill if a guy you just shot in the knee was crawling away from you. Come on now.
That's the whole gun.
I'll tell you this:
Like-
I'd have better hair.
Let's see. I think y'all talked about y'all's moments that y'all liked the most, caught you off guard, or stuck with you afterward. I think y'all had pretty much capped those off, unless I missed one.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
I did like when he was falling down the stairs. That one caught me a lot. When he fell off the fire escape, that one was awesome too. One that caught me off guard is the fact that he gave up Seth. That was a turn for me because it's just like, dang, he really,
Are we doing oh shit moments?
yeah.
You gotta say we're doing oh shit moments.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I thought you were still on God shots. I was like,
oh
wait,
no,
what?
sorry, yeah.
Wait.
Whoops, got you.
Why are you
Yeah,
still talking about God shots?
No?
All right. Oh shit. Who's up? Joe, you're up.
I'll go. I'll go
No.
first.
Well,
Go
Joe
ahead,
already
go ahead,
started
go
it. Yeah,
ahead.
good,
Okay.
Joe.
Go,
No,
go,
go ahead.
Joe. Fine.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'm pointing like
No,
he
go
can see
ahead.
me. I'm pointing like
I'm
he
gonna
can
go
see me.
ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
Brian.
gonna go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah.
Fuck y'all.
All right, you go ahead.
Oh shit moments is when seeing Bruce Willis's wife get shot. I wasn't really expecting that. I thought he was just trying to, stop him from being his loop from ending.
Mhm.
So I was like, that was like a kind of a shocker to me. I didn't think that she actually died or she was there still. That's it. That's all I got, to be
That's a
honest.
good one.
It
That's a
makes
good
it
one.
makes
Everything
sense
else
though,
is so,
because
everything else is so predictable.
they have to erase everything that the looper, like their existence, pretty much,
Yeah.
and him being married is part of
I
it.
will say the guy getting Seth getting like basically maimed.
Mutilated.
Yeah.
Like
that-
future Seth being like crawling back.
Was that one of yours too, Marisa, when he was like getting his limbs chopped off?
I feel like that should be everyone's, honestly.
Yeah, that was
The
probably
oh
the best
shit
part of the
moment.
movie.
Trying
I
to
feel like this is gonna sound this is gonna sound fucked up, but it's the moment after that, whenever he's in the bed with the girlfriend, and he's like, "Oh, I just sold my best friend out," and she's like, petting his head, and she's like, "Hey man, I can't deal with your bullshit. You know, like, you gotta get it together and get the fuck out. I gotta like be a whore or whatever it is that she does.
Oh
I
my
don't know."
god.
And I don't know. I was like, "Oh, that's sad. She doesn't give a fuck about him either."
Dang. I think that's what helped the connection with Sarah, how it kind of led into what that ended up being. Because they had a chance to bond, and there was like a commonality there for them. But they were able to actually make that emotional connection. John, what about you?
The first scene of the movie. Oh shit! Oh shit! It's just Joseph Gordon-Levitt standing there. He checks his watch, puts it back in. Boop! Pow! Adriana,
you
and
can.
I say this because Adriana was like,
My whole thing with that is that was in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you knew what that was all about.
Yeah.
Like, if they
And that's
didn't
how they got
explain
you.
a whole lot about the movie besides that, like, and that was the first thing I was like, oh,
okay,
holy shit.
but here's how it qualifies for oh shit. Someone that had never seen the trailer or had never seen this movie
Okay.
jumped.
Okay.
I will say I wouldn't like watch this movie without seeing the trailer, so that would never be on my.
I had old Seth losing his limbs. Joe killing the first kid. That was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
The discovery of the second kid actually being the call girl. It's like, oh fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Adriana was just like, oh, and I was like, this kid, like of all the kids, it had to be this
Yeah.
one. And then the Rainmaker reveal when he was falling down the stairs.
Yeah. I like that one a lot. I agree with John's about the whenever they close the loops, because they're blasting with the blunderbuss and they go freaking flying all crazy. Like Those I don't get tired of those. Whenever I watch this is like the third time or fourth time I watch this movie, and every time I'm like, oh dang! Like every time they just get mangled and they just fly around. So with Marisa, we'll start with you on this one. Change one thing, make it better. Oh wait, did Chanel do yours?
No.
Oh, sorry.
But it's
go ahead, go
okay.
ahead.
I mean, it's the same things. It's when he loses all his limbs, and then when Bruce Willis kills the kid. Like, don't stop killing kids.
She's like, I hate Bruce Willis now. He sucks.
There are a few things in
Stop killing
movies that I
kids.
can't watch, and it's just like even in Star Wars when Anakin, he's like, "What are we going to do?" Like, that as a kid, I feel like that was the beginning of me just hating watching kids get hurt in movies. It's like kids getting killed and rape are the two things I cannot deal with in movies. I can deal with murder just fine. Like I was watching The Clockwork Orange, I could barely watch it. I don't know if anyone's seen that movie, but there's like actual rape in that movie.
Oh my god, yeah, it's so hard to watch.
Yeah, but like, he killed that kid, and it's like he thinks that his life means more than that kid's life. But I get where he's coming from, where he thinks that it's gonna become a bad guy, but it's still a kid. Like people are always like, let's go back in time and kill baby Hitler. It's a baby, you know.
A baby's death that would save millions of lives. Actually, I think it had the same equivalency. I think. 'Cause
Yeah,
the Rainmaker just wipes everybody out, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
I think it answers that question. It's like, would you do it? And there are some people
I don't
that
think
would.
I would do it.
And there's some people that wouldn't. I mean, that's reality of things.
You gotta go, Chanel.
I may like I'll leave in like 5 minutes.
Okay, one thing make it better. Chanel, go.
I'll get rid of Kid Blue storyline. It just felt like it feels like he's just there so that at the end he has something to distract the young guy, and like his motivations with Abe. Like I get that he's trying to impress Abe, and like Abe dies. Like, does he want to avenge him? Why are his motivations there? It doesn't feel strong enough for him to be like, he killed Abe, now I need to go and kill him. That
you know what I was thinking, and I thought would have been cool is if Abe was his future self.
I was thinking that when he smacked
too.
him with the hammer, I was like, oh, he's about to feel it because it's him. And then it turned out that would have been amazing.
That's not how it works. Like, it's not like I pinch you and
You're right. But I just thought that we were gonna find out that Abe was the older version, because the way that Bruce Willis talks to what's his face, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is the same way that Abe talks to Kid Blue. Like, you're such a little shit. You're so stupid. Blah blah blah. I mean, I hope I don't hate my younger.
Did you say little shit?
I already hate
my
see? I hate so
did you just say a quotable?
Yeah, he's a little shit.
Oh man.
But when that turned out not to be it, it was kind of like,
she was all,
yeah.
Marisa, you.
Change one thing, make it better.
More boning. I think that's what you were leaning.
More boning. Give us more sexy sex.
With Emily Blunt specifically.
Yeah.
Like when she's chopping that stump and then she drops the thing and she like steps back. It's like,
I did. It's like that.
I like that very much. Keep being strong and cool, Emily. And Mary Poppins at the same time. You're great.
For real. Do it all.
She's amazing.
But yeah, I guess that's it. There's nothing that I could think of that would be like, yeah, that would make this movie so much better. Besides, I guess, making Kid Blue future dude, whatever.
Oh yeah, that would have been a good touch. Yeah.
I would have liked that. That would have been cool. But other than that,
now I want a movie of Kid Blue called Future Dude.
Future Dude.
Future Dude.
Kid Blue.
What about you, Future Dude? John, what would you change?
I am present dude right now. Yeah, I could have did without the sex.
That's fair.
Which I know it's weird, but I could have done without it. I could have just been like, if they have a conversation with each other where they just share all this information, it would show more intimacy for me, I think, as opposed to Joe and the call girl at the beginning.
Who says there has to be intimacy though?
That's what I'm saying.
It was just a hookup. That was just a hookup.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think and you could have done without it. See, you proved my point. You could have done without that and had them having a conversation over like coffee or something.
And I think that's the point. That's how they epitomize the intimacy. It's like it built up to this, and then the conversation would have been fine. Or John, to your point too, they could have traded out that scene for more of Bruce Willis whooping everybody. Like I think that they could have probably had that.
I feel like the sex scene goes back to Brian's point, where like this movie feels like it was from 2012, because like now they don't do that much anymore. Like I can't remember the last time really I saw a sex scene that it wasn't really warranted in a movie. A lot of the connections are now more
And
between like
the reason
Mhm.
friends. It's more like a mental thing. And
Yeah.
there's a lot nowadays, a lot of movies are showing a lot more like platonic love between friends, which is pretty great. Like even in Eternals, that have y'all
Mhm.
seen Eternals?
Yeah.
no,
That whole thing with Angela.
no, no.
No, I'm not ruining anything. It's in her and the other warrior. They're like their whole thing is that they love each other so much. They're just friends, but they would do anything for each
Mhm.
other. Like it just cares more about platonic love, and like you can love somebody without having to have sex with them, and you can show it on screen without there being sex. You can be intimate without it being physical in that way.
Brian.
I get that she has needs, but it also didn't. It completely weakened her character because she was steadfast and strong, and I'm chopping this.
How's that
fucking-
weaken her
I don't think
character?
it
She knew what she
weakened- No, no, no.
wanted. She's the one who asked for it.
Well, even that, but it turned her defenses immediately drop after that, and it's just like, oh man, I have to care about this guy now. Like that's what sucked about it for me.
It was like a too
I don't get
tropey for you.
2012 me was like, yeah, I get you some. Me now, it's just like, eh.
Yeah. It too heavy-handed on.
Like
the trope.
I get it, but yeah, change one thing, make it better. I would
Yeah.
change that.
What about you, Brian?
More sex. No, I'm just kidding.
At least show some nudity. Do
So,
that.
yeah.
They did.
Well,
I
we
compare
did.
both
We saw that.
movies.
If you're gonna have them boning, there need to be male ass cheeks and titties.
No, I want
No, there needs to be some
straight up.
depth. I'm
give me full
tired of
frontal.
I am
Remove
tired
away.
of just seeing women's boobs all over the place. Give me some like dick or something.
Yeah, that's right. Give me
But,
some
okay,
dick,
no,
give me
no,
some
no.
Equal
dick.
Dick in
opportunity.
movies is so awkward.
Some donger swing.
Boobs, but
It's so
because they're all
awkward.
Did you say
It's awkward.
it's so
all
awkward?
No,
boobs are
go ahead.
normalized. That's why. Sorry, that's all I have to say. It's just normalized. That's why dicks are awkward. We can, you know how you make it not awkward? Just show a ton of them.
Yeah, that's right. Show us.
Go-
That's why boobs aren't awkward anymore.
Go to
Yeah,
all the
Hulu. Go to
dicks.
Hulu. Chanel. Go to Hulu.
Yeah,
Watch Pam and Tommy and tell me dicks are not fucking awkward.
I've seen dicks in lots of things. All right.
No.
know-
You have not seen them in Pam and Tommy.
I'm gonna get to that because I want to watch it. But like even in God, what show was I watching?
Euphoria.
No, I don't watch you. I haven't
Game
watched
of Thrones?
Euphoria yet. Game of Thrones. I don't think it wasn't until later seasons they started to show maybe a little bit. The
you
only
just
place
have,
you see
like,
dick is in like
explain it.
Schindler's List and like movies about like torture and stuff like that because it's very real.
Pulp Fiction. You
Yeah.
can see Bruce Willis's dick.
In Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, when he gets out of the shower.
Oh
I
yeah.
remember that.
Anyways, the real things I would change are the prosthetics. of Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The prosthetic lips
hate
or
it.
He's like, give me some
I
prosthetic.
had another one. I just completely blanked out.
You always supposed to have one. It's change one thing and make it better,
is
not
it?
change
I
multiple
feel like
things.
y'all had said like multiple things, but okay.
I said one
Okay.
thing.
The prosthetic
Guys,
is good. Nobody
I gotta
mentioned.
go.
Nobody
Just the
mentioned.
prosthetics.
Yeah,
Get rid
nobody
of the
mentioned
prosthetics.
that.
Yeah.
So.
Hey guys, this was fun. I gotta go, but y'all have fun. I'll see you later.
Bye, Chanel.
Bye.
So we'll move on to this. Watch it again on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 to 5 gats. 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. How much do you want to see this again, John?
4 to 5 Gatmans. I'd watch it again.
Nice, Brian.
I mean, if we made a drinking game out of it, maybe. But other than that, I have no really urge to watch this again.
1 gat.
Just one.
Marisa, you.
I mean, I'll go ahead and say 3 because, like, if it's on, I'll watch it.
Mhm.
I made my boyfriend watch it last year, so I mean, it's not like I'm opposed to watching it, but it's not one of those movies where I'm like, oh, you know what, I need to watch right now, Looper.
3.
But-
3.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
3 is the
With
standard.
that criterion, I would put it back at a 3. Give me one less Gatman. He got shot.
Yeah, if it 3 is I think is the standard. It's like if it's on TV, I'll watch it. Cool.
Yeah.
Give me a 3 is actually now give me a 4 because I actually picked this one. The only reason I liked it is because what Brian had said earlier, and it's still a solid point. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt has a lot of really good roles, and he takes unique roles and with unique scripts. And this is one of those. It's like I want to watch a Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie. This is one of the ones I would pick for sure. Premiere
Don
Rush.
Juan.
Don Juan is really good too. Premium
Don
Rush
Juan's
is up
great.
there as well.
500 Days of Summer.
Yeah.
Angels in the outfield?
No, I'm not watching that.
Wait,
I'm
he
like-
was in Angels in the Outfield?
Yeah, he was
He's
the
main
kid.
character.
Yeah, he
Bro,
was
I
the
have not
kid.
seen that movie in like 20 years. So
Yeah.
I had that movie on VHS, and that's where I fell in love.
We start
the first
doing
time.
this.
Yep.
Yeah,
God damn
if I 4 out of 5 only because if I want to watch a movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it, this is one of the ones I would pick. If I pick him as a side character, Inception is right there on the list for sure. Does it sequel, Brian?
oh yeah, I definitely think I'm not maybe not a direct sequel, but like they could definitely do something in the world. I'd love to see like Rainmaker growing up and like seeing that transformation. In Bruce Willis's like old Joe's timeline.
Yeah.
I think that'd be kind of cool to see why he was so feared and stuff like that. I mean, we kind of get that, but it's like, I mean, fucking Bullet could kill this kid. Like,
Yeah.
How does his powers develop? I think the universe is cool. I think they could do some cool stories, but I don't think they're going to since it hasn't been done yet. So.
Yeah. What about you, Melissa? Does it sequel?
I feel like it could, and I would like if it was about the Rainmaker, I would watch it. But I am also not in any immediate need to like write up a petition. Looper needs a sequel now.
No.
We need 5,000 signatures.
What
But
about you, John?
Hang on.
Oh.
I got something.
Okay. I'll say it.
Is
does
he gonna
se-
come back with like a black trench coat
That
or
would be
something?
awesome.
Like
He doesn't own one. He doesn't own one that I know of. But I say like it does sequel, but not with these characters directly. I think the universe is very intriguing and like the setup for everything. If it sequeled, it'd probably be a prequel to how like Loopers started with those syndicates and all that stuff. I think that would be really cool. Like to tie the past versions of these Loopers and the future versions of like the syndicates forming and stuff like that. I think that's what would sequel and not necessarily the characters or this particular story. What about you, John?
Yes, and it already has sequeled.
What?
wait, what?
In this book, Time Before Time,
Oh shit!
Image Comics, Your Future, Yesterday. It's basically the same premise. Syndicates run the future, except they establish bases in different timelines, in different time periods. Sorry. So the syndicate's in like 2150 something, and the story takes place in the present day. And it's 8 issues deep right now at the time of this recording. So
Is that actually from Looper? Like, is
no,
that
it's not from Looper, but it's the same premise. It's the
Okay.
exact same premise.
Okay.
like fan
Dang.
fiction.
He's got hard concrete proof. Look at him.
Yep, Time Before Time.
All right, last one. Making out like Bandits. Who's the actor that stole the show? We'll start with Marisa on this one.
It has to be Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I feel like, right? He's the. I mean, maybe you could make a case for Paul Dano, but that's only because I like Paul Dano. I feel like
he's awesome.
this wasn't even his best work, but like,
Yeah.
So,
Not Kid
yeah.
Blue. He didn't steal the show for you.
I mean, I love Kid Blue, but no, he did not steal the show.
Yeah. John, what about you?
None of the adults.
Interesting.
Pierce Gagnon actually stole the show from me. He was both adorable and vicious at the same time. Because
Oh, that kid was so creepy looking. I don't know why you think he's adorable.
He was cute because he was in his innocence at the same time. You knew eventually what he would become if everything had stayed the way that it stayed. But then, like, the vicious part of it at the same time, staring daggers in the would-be future scene, like, that kid was fucking pissed.
Yeah. He is so adorable.
And the only way that I say that he stole the show is because in every scene that he was in, he commanded it.
Yes.
Mhm.
It was almost the focal point of him was like he's this threat to the future, and it was a kid doing all of this.
Yeah.
Amazing acting. So that's why I give it to the kid, Pierce Gagnon. Also, he was in Boss Baby.
No. God.
Yeah, he's also in Scoob.
Yeah, he's in Scoob.
Post production, and yeah, I feel bad for this kid after seeing his most recent work.
Uh-oh.
I mean, he's a working actor, so
I
there you
guess
go.
so.
Who's the bandit, Brian, for you?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Nice. I go with the kid
100%.
too. I go with the kid too. Like, there's scenes like I kind of weigh this as like if you took somebody out, would it still have an impact? You can't take the kid out.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can't take the kid out of this one.
I don't think it would have worked without Joseph Gordon-Levitt, though. I think if they got any other actor, I don't think it would.
Who was hot in 2012?
Let's see. I had some of the trivia here where they were
Channing Tatum.
Wow, no.
That would not have made the movie because then you would still.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm like, who?
Yeah.
Who could play a young Bruce Willis?
I get your point. You could have took Bruce Willis out if you wanted Joseph Gordon-Levitt that badly. You could have put like Keanu Reeves or Jeff Goldblum as his future self, but they're too tall, so that wouldn't work.
Yeah, I feel like getting Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is great because we know what he brings and we saw what he did. But you could have taken, if it was somebody else for that, it carried some weight, but not that much weight. I feel like Bruce Willis could have been interchangeable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Also, they never had Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the same scene together standing because he's taller than him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Which I was like, this fool's short. Is Bruce Willis really short? No.
No, Bruce Willis.
No, he's not. He's 6 feet tall.
Yeah, and he's just way bigger too. So like on top of that small stature of like a couple inches with him, just his like weight and heft, like I think that's this contrast there. Yep, that's it. We're done for today on this episode of the Sunday Funday presents Movie Club, or is it called the Sunday Funday Movie Club? The Sunday Funday Movie Club.
Yeah, just Sunday Funday Movie Club.
Yeah. I don't have the script for all the stuff, and I don't want to get it out of order, John.
Well, then let me handle it. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you're listening to us on Spreaker, that's where you should check us out. We're available for free to stream wherever you get your podcasts, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, etc. iHeartRadio also, too. We're there. Video format, you can find us on the Facebook page, search the Sunday Funday Podcast, and on YouTube. We're on YouTube now. Subscribe, hit that subscribe button, like the video if you like the video, and then most importantly, leave us a review. 5 stars would be great. 4 stars is cool. 5 stars is better. Tell your friends about it too. Next episode coming up is I don't know because we haven't planned that far.
We should probably talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, we will. Look forward in the next month though. We got another episode of the regular Fun Day, and then we'll have Movie Club again.
Who's the next movie club?
Yeah, who's the next?
Ryan, right?
My pick.
Is it Chanel's pick? She picked Thompson. Wait.
No, she didn't.
We'll get
Y'all
to
were
it.
gonna throw it to her, but you're gonna throw off the order. So just because she's new, she don't get special treatment.
Yeah,
Like that.
okay.
Exactly.
I still haven't picked.
What's
the
the last movie? What's the last movie I picked?
You picked Tucker and Dale,
Yeah.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
And then It Follows is the one after that.
Mm-hmm.
and then we had Ip Man after that. But
No, Ip Man was before.
Dom picked
Man
that.
was before that.
Yeah,
Right.
Dom picked that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was you, John.
I didn't pick that movie.
Because
I
Dom
picked-
wasn't part of
I
our
picked The
podcast,
Matrix.
was he?
I picked The Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that you had a guest. I don't remember who it was. If it was David Pulga, maybe, or
No, he did the video game draft. With
Yeah.
oh yeah.
The video game bracket,
We'll figure it out. Don't worry.
which is a
everybody.
great episode, and all of it is available on Spreaker and wherever you get your podcasts. They're them. I'm me. Bye.
Be kind to one another.
Bye.
Be kind to one another, everyone.
Be excellent to each other.
No, that's not the quote.
It's a better one.